So in this lesson, we will detect when the player collides back with the ground, and we'll reset the isJumping variable. And then we'll look at something called the input manager and edit our code accordingly. So at the moment in my code, I have two functions. I have my start function and I have my update function. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a third function. So I need to scroll all the way to the very bottom, and I'm going to place this inside that last curly bracket. And my new function is going to be the onCollisionEnter function. Void because it returns nothing, onCollisionEnter. Inside that function, I set isJumping equals false. Now this function, this code will be triggered when a collision detect is thrown up. And so now when I test my code, I can jump, but I can only jump once. I jumped right off the side there. Another set of commands that we can use within Unity is what's called the input manager. And so we'll spend a bit of time experimenting with that. Firstly, to access the input manager, I go to Edit, Project Settings, Input. Over on my Inspector tab, I now have my input manager. We'll have a look at, we'll expand the axis, and we'll look at horizontal. So here now the system, the left button, the left arrow key, will give me a negative reading. The right arrow key will give me a positive reading. Okay, so with my input manager looking like this, I return to my code window and I make two variables, one called horizontal input and one called vertical input. I declare those. Next, in my update function, I write some code that gives horizontal input and vertical input values. And I use the input.getAxis horizontal or input.getAxis vertical to achieve that. Now, I've remarked out the code that responds to get key up arrow to move forward, and I'm going to replace that code with this. My vertical input will return a value greater than 0 if I press the up arrow key. And so the code that moves the player forward is the same, but the event handler and the listener is different. I'll save that and test that. And I can see that that's working. So I'll change my input managers and event listeners for the other four events. If vertical input is less than 0, if the horizontal input is less than 0, this will turn me to the left. And finally, if my horizontal input is greater than 0. I'll save this code and test it. I can see my code's working.